Welcome into the 93rd episode of the Sabremetrix podcast. My name is Bill. Alongside me, as always, is Walt. Walt, how you doing today, man?
Doing pretty good. Looking forward to talking about like some interesting Sabres games, and I feel like we have good amount of topics to discuss as well.
Yeah, we are in the thick of the season now for sure. A little bit more of a sample size for the team, coming off a couple games against Toronto, winning 3 of 4 possible points there, and then Columbus at home yesterday, ending up losing that game in overtime. That was a bummer. I was actually there. I can get into that maybe a little bit later. But Walt, since it is the name of the episode, and I heard Jeremy White talk about this earlier, but what do you more consider, especially last night, but just overtime losses in general? Do you call them maybe a regulation tie point, or do you call them a loser point?
Uh I mean, it definitely felt like a loser point, at least in last night's game, just because I know we talk about all the time how they need to get games into overtime, and it's nice to get that game in overtime. But when you lose a game like that, that was pretty deflating. Just because every 3-on-3 overtime just feels like a coin flip almost. So to lose
Mhm.
that coin flip after battling that entire game definitely was tough. But at the end of the day, it's still a point. It's better than 0 points. And
Mhm.
back to back losses the last 2 games, we still pick up 2 points. So it's pretty much like a win and a loss. So that's kind of how I view it. So yeah, big picture, I'd say it's definitely more of like a regulation tie point, but in the moment, it definitely feels like a loser point.
It definitely stings a little bit worse because they came out so poorly in the first period. I mean, that was again, I was there live. Oh, that it was genuinely
Yeah.
terrible to watch. It was bad hockey. I mean, pretty much all game firing passes into people's skates and puck bouncing off your stick and just just wasn't a super enjoyable game, wasn't flashy by any means, but there were a lot of shots that ended up getting thrown onto each net. So yeah, I'm more in the camp of it just depends on the scenario, especially I was saying pre-show. It's kind of like soccer games where you're up 2-1, and then right at the end, their other team scores, ends up being a tie. You didn't lose, still got a point, but it feels like a loss versus, you're the team that scored and it feels like a win even though you didn't win. So it's in the same realm, giving up the lead in the third period and then losing in overtime. Definitely stinks, especially when you do it a couple times, but just keep stacking up those points. And yeah, I think that's just something that we mentioned, especially the season that they missed the playoffs by 1 point. If you could have just gotten an extra point here and an extra point there, if you
Yeah.
just didn't lose this one in regulation or didn't blow it in the third period and actually lose the game, which they haven't in the last couple games. So there's something to take from that. So is there anything else from the Toronto games? Because I don't think you were able to see either. I wasn't able to either. I was busy both days, unfortunately, but fortunately because I was doing something pretty fun. But anything Toronto wise that you wanted to talk about before we talk a little bit more about the Columbus game?
Well, yeah, I watched them after the fact, and I think the big discussion with the second Toronto game was definitely UPL,
Yes.
and I do have to say, like there are definitely 2 goals, particularly towards the end of the game, that he probably should have made a stop on. And there's also that weird situation too, where apparently Colin Ellis was supposed to start that game, but he had like a
Yeah.
tight back, and then he wasn't able to play. And honestly, I did not even think Colton Ellis had like a chance to start that game. Like I had no idea they're even considering it because it kind of
Yeah.
seems like they weren't planning on that, or they're at least planning on giving UPL some games because they called the guy up from his conditioning stint like early.
Yeah. That was definitely interesting. And that's why I was a little surprised when they said the Ellis thing, but they sent him up early as well. So that
Yeah,
was it's like, whoa, okay. And that's I do have a little sympathy for UPL because that is you know, what, midday, maybe around noon. It sounded like he was like they were saying, "Hey, game's at 5 and you're in." You do have enough time to kind of process it, but that's going to be your first start of the season after just one game of conditioning. I can understand that. So we'll see. I mean, again, got the regulation tie point or loser point, depending on how you view it, but they were able to come away with that and we move on. So Columbus, again, I was there. First period, brutal. Second period, much, much better. But man, I can't get over that call they made on Alex Tuck. That's
Yeah,
that same guy that he knocked down. I forget his name because we looked it up. There's a couple times where he went down real easy, and you could definitely see he was trying to like fish for calls, and he got one. I'm not saying that's what happened on the one that Tuck got a call on, but it just so happened that same guy ended up going down a little bit too easy a couple
that
more.
Olivier sequence too, like right before that
Yeah,
Tuck penalty was crazy. Like if a guy's cross checking you,
and it just
like
wouldn't leave Timmons alone either.
yeah,
Like I
how's
was,
that not a penalty?
it got to the point where all the people around us were like, "Are we like the guy's not even trying to play hockey right now? Like Timmons is
Yeah,
just trying to get the guy away from him and play." You can obviously see he's trying to stay engaged. Olivier's not at all. And then you're going to call something that soft on Tuck when it was like a mutual battle. It's like, sorry, I'm stronger than you, and the guy was like half falling over anyway. It's just, of course, then goal goes in, and there's been discussion on if Lion should have had that or not. So I don't think that situation should have happened, and I think they would have been in a better situation if they didn't come out so flat in the first period. But is there anything else about the Columbus game that you wanted to mention?
yeah, I do think like I mean, sure they blew like a 3-2 lead. I guess you could call it that. They also didn't show up for like 18 minutes, I'd say, in that first period. I think they kind of
Yeah.
showed up like right before that power play, and then the power
Mhm.
play kind of deflated them a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just it's hard to win hockey games when you just completely check out for a little bit of the game. Like it was nice to see them check back in, and I think we do see the benefit of just playing good hockey because like the difference between blowing a lead when you're up one is it goes to overtime versus the difference between blowing a lead when it's I mean, I'm sorry, not even blowing a lead, but getting the game to a tied state and giving up a goal. That's how you lose in regulation. So I'd rather play from up most of the game, which is what they were good with doing against Columbus. So, I think it's a step in the right direction, but at the same time, it's like 10 points in your first 10 games, like big picture, we have to include those first three as well. It's like you just want a little bit more. I mean, you do need a little bit more too if you want to make it to the playoffs. So I think these next 10 games will be a huge test. I mean, you definitely have to walk away with more than, 10, 11 points in these next 10 if you want like a serious shot at this playoffs this year with like just how competitive it is. I mean, I know right now they're not too far out of a playoff spot, but like a team like Columbus is right there with them. And then there's like 12 other teams in the Eastern Conference that are right there with them right now. So it's like I'd rather them separate themselves from the pack early if they can.
Yeah, and it definitely gets more challenging as the year goes on. That's why it's like stack as many points as you can now because they only get tougher and tougher to come by as the season wears on. Whereby March and early April, it's essentially playoff hockey, especially for the teams that are trying to either stay above the line or get above the line. So, and that's where we hope and somewhat expect the Sabres to be in the mix of, whether that's above or most likely below and trying to chase. Like you said, next 10-ish games, very big. And that starts with tomorrow in Boston again, which is kind of interesting that they've already gone to Boston twice. And I covered the Tuesday game. Walt's going to the Thursday game. So we're representing at Sabres game as well this week.
Have we had a win
Hopefully.
yet this year? Have you gone to a Sabres win yet?
No, that was my first game of the season. So
Oh man, so we're
yeah.
we're 0-1 so far.
Yep.
Sabremetrix podcast attending games.
Yeah, tomorrow's big for the brand. Anything that you're looking forward to that hopefully they can improve upon the last time you saw them? I mean, it's mostly everything because that was a terrible game. But what do you maybe have better seats or something like that, or going with some friends, or going to be sitting solo and just taking it in? What's going on tomorrow night with you?
No, yeah, we got a crew of 4 people. Not all of us are Sabres fans, unfortunately, but we'll
Okay.
have we'll have at least two Sabres fans there. So yeah, really just I mean, compared to that first Bruins game, I think it's the same thing as a Columbus game, of just not showing up in the first period.
Yeah.
Because that first
Yeah.
period of the Columbus game reminded me, exactly of that Bruins game where it looked like they just weren't playing fast. They weren't winning pucks. It felt like Boston was the first on every puck. And just like last night, felt like Columbus was the first in every puck. So I think they have to come out playing fast. They have to come out winning battles. Really just what like I feel like Rob Ray, rinkside last game. I think he described it perfectly with how the team needs to play. I mean, they really have to play to the other team's level in terms of speed and competitiveness if they want to win these games. And I think Boston's a little bit of a step down in terms of talent compared to Columbus. Like they do still have like that elite guy in Pasternak, but the depth on that team is not that great. They've lost a lot of games since they beat the Sabres that last game. So I just think it's just a game I think you need to win. Like it's just
Yeah.
I think it's as simple as that. Like it's not a great team. I mean, you're coming off 2 straight overtime losses. I think it's a game where you really just have to come out and collect that win because I think it doesn't really get much more winnable than a game against Boston.
Yeah, it's if you want to be considered a good team, you have to beat the perceived bad teams. And it's weird to say that Boston is a bad team, but it's finally happened that Boston
Yeah,
appears to be a bad team. Yeah, they beat the Sabres and then went on a massive skid. So it always bothered me too in years past when the Sabres would beat the good teams and then just like lose like 6-5 to Chicago. You're like,
yeah,
what? What do you come on, guys? So this is one of those instances. Show up, beat them, and move on because then you have a better team and the Capitals coming into town. And then, oh baby, you know what I'm talking about. We have the Utah Mammoth coming in next Tuesday, 7 p.m. I was already looking at tickets for that one. I want to see what the atmosphere is like for that. So who knows? I might end up being there again on another Tuesday evening. But yeah, I think just to reiterate your point, really big just to get these 2 points. I don't care how you get them. If it ends up going to overtime or a shootout, preferably not a shootout because you want those regulation and overtime wins for any kind of tiebreaker. But just get the 2 points. Don't care how it comes. And then let's move on. Preferably, you want them to look really good. It's the same thing, you just want the Bills to win, but preferably you want the offense and specifically the wide receivers looking very good and in tune. Same thing with the Sabres and tomorrow, but I don't care. Just get your 2 points and let's move on. A little bit of a homestand, and then it's weird. They played Boston a couple weeks ago. Then they play Utah. Like a week later, they play Utah in Utah. But
yeah.
this is also another thing of stacking points. This is a homestand. You guys are sleeping in your own beds for a while, playing, sticking with a routine. Yes,
They've been
you're
winning
running
at
off.
home too. I think
Yeah,
so.
and you're running. Fair enough. You're running to Boston for a night, but win that, come home, win those games, and then once you go on the road and you're going into other barns, obviously it gets a little bit tougher. So I don't really have like anything to like lead us into anything else. I'm just agreeing and saying, especially now these next few games, Boston and then the home games. So is there anything else specifically about the games? You want to start talking about some players? Because I do have a couple things I wanted to mention about players. I guess a little live update for folks who don't know. I'm sure you probably have seen, but if you haven't, and if you were listening to this on Thursday morning, we are recording and or live streaming. So check us out on the Sabremetrix podcast YouTube page. 3-1. Amerks are up, closing in on the end of the second against Belleville. We have Red Savage, fantastic name, Anton Wahlberg and Isaac Rosayan scoring goals. I'll start talking about some players. And one player I wanted to ask you about, I know we talked about him a little bit before on a previous episode, but Noah Ostlund. How do you think that's going for him right now?
I could really see like the IQ and stuff with him, but I still kind of stand by what I said either last episode or 2 episodes ago, where it's like if this guy just added more weight
Mhm.
and was able to play a heavier game, the game would come so much easier to him. Right now, I just feel like he's pushed out to the perimeter too much at times, and he has to rely on just getting his shots from far out. I think if he just built up really just that lower body mass, like just
Mhm.
be able to work through those like areas where you could score from and be able to make plays through traffic. Uh, I think that would be huge for him. Right now, I still think he's like a fine player,
Mhm.
but he is a guy where it's like I wouldn't mind sending back to Rochester if somebody
Yeah.
they have up there right now is playing well. And it looks like they are trying out Jordan Greenway, maybe at center on that third line. So it looks like that'll be a short term replacement at least. But if you can make an in-season trade to bolster that third line, I would 100% do it. I don't think Austin's play so far has been enough for me to be like, oh yeah, we're set here. Uh, until Norris comes back, I'd still be looking for something there.
Yeah, I mean, one, unfortunately, just Norris just isn't reliable. I hate saying that about him or any other player, but he just simply isn't. And I specifically talking about the skill depth that I've harped on pretty much every episode of like I don't think they have the top line skill depth to really take them where they want to go because they've pretty much traded all those guys. Um, but it's one of those things where I think the wingers aren't as much of the problem as it's the centers.
Yeah,
And that's just and then Norris goes down. Like even beforehand, I was worried about it. And then Norris goes down, and you're like, oh. So it's what do you do in that scenario if you're Lindy? Because what options do you have? You have Usland, I guess maybe Wahlberg. Who else could you bring up from Rochester? Again, you're trying other guys. Greenway at center. I don't like that necessarily. I don't think it could be horrible, but I certainly don't think it's going to be like a solution that you're looking for. So I agree. I think you probably have to bring someone in. But we said the same thing when things were going so poorly in the beginning of the season. Teams really aren't ready to trade guys. It might be a little bit different if some teams are really thinking they're off to a slow start. But where's the solution there? Do they maybe send down Usland, maybe try Hellenius, or maybe try Wahlberg because he has maybe a bigger frame? Do you try? I mean, I'm kind of done advocating for moving Peyton Krebs higher up in the line. Plus, that line did. It's not a great game to watch when the fourth line's like your best line, and that's what they kind of were last night. But what do you do? Again, you
yeah.
make a move, but like in the meantime,
I'd like to see Hellenius
yeah,
somehow, but it's just like I don't know if he's a guy they'll call up unless those point totals are there. Which I don't know if I completely agree with that because I do think he's someone where I think he was drafted so high because he was like pretty well rounded because he knew his game. Sure he had pretty good point totals in a Liga in Finland, but I just think he's someone where it's like I don't know. I would just bring him up, and I know he had that huge 4 point game the other day, but it's like I mean, yeah, sure, all points count the same there, but it's like he's gone a bunch of games without a point, so I don't know if maybe Sabres are like, oh, we still have to let this guy cook a little bit in the AHL. But it's like I just feel like he'd fit so much better on the Sabres team right now than someone like Oslin. And I'm not saying Oslin's been bad, but I just think there's some instances with Oslin where you're like, if this guy could just like
yeah,
win this battle or get through this area of space or have a little bit more dog in him, I just think that their line would be so much better.
yeah. I mean, and especially like I don't know, people like us. We're like, yeah, Austin's doing okay and stuff like that. But then you have the people that are, they're going to be like, who is this soft kid, get him off the ice kind of thing. So even if you brought up a Hellenius, people will still kind of get like the Zach Benson, like smaller guy, but is a dog kind of
Yeah.
feeling with
He's
him. So like,
also like massive too for someone that's like how old is he now? Like 19, 20? Like the guy's like over 200 pounds, even though he's like 5'10" or whatever. Like he's pretty
of course,
I mean, he's been playing pro hockey since he was 17. Like he had a good season in Finland as a 17-year-old playing center in the Finnish league.
so I'm trying to look up Thick Boy Hellenius over here. Apparently, what is the? He's listed 5'11". See, I thought he was more like 5'9", 5'10". I mean, it's not, it's a couple inches, whatever. But they have him listed as 189. I don't know. Probably more like 195 maybe could
I
be
mean,
it, but
that's
that's still solid, and
that's good
especially
size for a player his age.
you see it with Benson too, especially if he can kind of get lower and get leverage under some of these like taller guys, just kind of like work under them essentially, and just drives to the net or just win a puck battle or get to the corner first to win the puck battle, that's advantageous as well. So yeah, I'm definitely on the train of you can't like you can't overdevelop in the AHL kind of thing. There is a point where you're like, look, like he's really not gaining too much from being down there, but I never think it's necessarily a bad thing. Now, if you're sticking someone down there for years and years, it's like, okay, what are we doing here? He's absolutely tearing it up. But I don't know. I'm just still younger guy. Just give him more runway and keep him in Rochester. But if I'm looking for solutions for in the short term for your center depth, it's really tough not to go after him. Maybe points come in bunches and stuff like that. And of course, the AHL is not the NHL, but I don't know. I've been trying to resist the urge to say and agree with you essentially, not just for the sake of having conflict on the show, but like genuinely being like,
Yeah.
no, you're just still too young. Still, I'm starting to lose that battle, and yeah, I'm starting to think that might be the move, especially in the short term. You know, he's not going to hit waivers or anything like that. So if Norris comes back and he's struggling, send him down, or even bring Oslin back up or something like that. I don't know. I agree with you. Oslin hasn't played poorly, but there can
Yeah, the
be
thing
a
with
little bit more.
Hellenius, yeah, I think just a little bit more. And I was just saying Hellenius, like he weighed 189 at the combine in 2024. So I mean, you'd have to think he's
Mhm.
probably at least closer to 200 now, even though they haven't really updated his listed weight at all.
It's the official Amerks site. It's my hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, not my
So
fault.
yeah, I mean, I have a hard time believing he didn't add any muscle over like two full more seasons of pro hockey, but I don't know. It's just maybe it's just optics and just my eye test, but it just seems like Hellenius plays much more. I mean, they're both extremely smart hockey players, but I think Hellenius plays with a little bit more of that edge, and he just
Yeah.
plays, really just with that relentless mentality out there too. Where it's like, Oslin can play like that, but yeah, it just seems like he just lacks that like additional punch. So with him, it's still like we have to figure out what a good role for this guy to be at the NHL level. And maybe it's just going off to the wing in the middle six eventually, or maybe it's not even ever finding his footing at the NHL. I think there's still a lot of story left to be written with him, and
Mm.
uh, we'll see if the Sabres try to figure it out this season or if they send him back to the AHL and kind of wait to answer that question in a future season, or if they just decide to never answer that question, like with Isak Rosén, where they just keep him in the AHL for his entire career.
Yeah, I mean, like Isak Rosén is like the winger Ostland with like I want to say like more speed, less brains, and like that's not like a knock on Rosén. He's still like a smart player. He's still drafted where he was drafted for a reason, but
Yeah,
just for really dumbing it down, kind of thing. So that sounded kind of mean. Sorry, Isak. I didn't, I didn't mean it.
yeah, he's
All right,
got
so
like high end tools with some stuff, but it's like,
yeah,
yeah, big picture, the NHL, he hasn't really been able to put it together.
yeah.
And Sabres, I mean, even with all their injuries, they don't really have a spot for him to try to figure that out because,
They
I
don't
mean,
also, yeah, they don't have the
it,
time for. They don't have the time for any player or goalie or coach or anyone or GM to like figure it out. They don't have that runway anymore, man. Like you're
yeah,
knocking on the door of 15 straight seasons of no playoff. Like it's
yeah,
now. It's now, it's now, it's now. And uh, multiple broadcasts I've listened to have basically said like I know people don't want to hear, but be patient. The future's bright in Buffalo. I'm like, ah,
yeah. I mean, it's easy for the people to say it that don't have to watch all 82 games of this team and don't have to talk
yeah,
about them every week and write a
you're
newsletter every week. It's easy
you're
to
on
say
a
it from the outside.
yeah, you're on a flight 30 minutes after the game, you know,
Yeah,
headed out to back to Bristol, Connecticut to hop on ESPN tomorrow. I was like, "What are we doing here?" Yeah, it was really funny. They had Eric Johnson on the I tried listening to the game on Friday while driving, and I didn't know who it was at first. And he was like, "Yeah, we got Eric Johnson in here for his first game on the mic or whatever." I'm like, "It's for the Sabres too," or it was just a hot disaster when he was on the Sabres. So, um,
yeah.
yeah, the old Johnson Clifton experiment went down the tubes. Um, let's get out some more negatives before I start throwing around some praise just to get these out of the way. Something that I've been not necessarily, I don't want to say surprised about, but like, look, it might not have been as good as last year, but I'm starting to get a little worried. Jason Zucker's expected goals for percentage is worse than Mason Garrettson's and Noah Ostlund's. The only person that has one worse is Justin Danforth, but Justin Danforth played like 3 games and some change. I'm starting to like, and again, Jason Zucker's kind of been pinned down with some not so great line mates at times, but I don't know, man. I was kind of hoping that that pop from last year stuck around a little bit more, and there's still plenty of time. He's hasn't played horribly, like not noticeably bad, but that was a number that really stuck out to me, and I just wanted to get your opinion on that.
Just in the Columbus game, it just felt like, he made it. I know he made one pass on like the power play where he just like threw it right into like another player's stick, and then he made some other plays where it's like, oh man, like you got to be like a little bit better there. Like it wasn't even just bad puck luck; it was just like, oh, maybe just a little bit better vision there. So yeah, not the greatest start for him. We have seen some flashes of some good play. I mean,
Mhm.
he's had a few 2-on-1 rushes with Quinn, but it's just like big picture, he could be better. And that kind of makes me think about, like, not to bring up another topic here, but it was mentioned that Karmanos is going to like the Columbus Toronto game tonight with Kekalainen as like a scout almost. And I think about a guy like Igor Chinikov, and I'm like,
Yeah.
if they're able to get a guy like him, like I wouldn't mind Zucker not being like an every night player. Like I wouldn't mind him like having to come in when needed. I mean, I'd imagine if you get Chinikov, you may have to give up someone like maybe like a Quinn or something in return. I mean, who knows what his value is, but
Yeah, that's a good
it,
question, what his value
yeah,
is.
but it's like it. I think at this point, like with those third line wingers, it's like if a really good winger becomes available like early on in the season, like I'm not opposed to having to switch things up on the fly. Like I don't really think either of them have been great enough where I'm like, yeah, I'm rolling with this. This forward group's like magic. Like this is still like big picture, like firmly a 80 something point team. And like, maybe with a little bit of luck, it could be a 94-point team. With some bad luck, it's a 76-point team. But
Ugh.
I don't know. I just think we're firmly like in the mix, but we're not in a comfortable spot where it's like, oh yeah, we'll be like cruising to a playoff spot this season. Like we're still going to be in a dogfight for that playoff spot. I'd still be looking to upgrade spots, even though this team hasn't been like terrible.
Yeah, and that's the thing is never, be satisfied with a good start because it could all come crashing down starting on gravy boat night. So, um,
Yeah.
it
Are they
was
giving away something? I think they're giving away like a butter dish this year or something.
don't
Yeah,
is my
maybe the curse
suggestion,
of a
just don't
butter
do
dish.
that. I mean, I think my thing with Jason Zucker is w like, I 100% disagree that he could well, you didn't say this, but, like, I just never in a million years think he will be someone that is, like, a healthy scratch for them.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean,
unless
yeah,
he's
that kind of be
tragic
tough to
because,
imagine.
he might not wear a letter. I don't think he does. He might not wear a letter. Does he?
I'm so bad with knowing who's wearing a letter. Like that's I feel like I never even.
He oh, man, that's gonna bug me. But he might not wear a letter, but they treat him like he does. Like, he's obviously well respected with
Yeah.
the locker room, and he's, like, a veteran voice in there, so, like, I would honestly sit Malenstein or something like that. Again, that's not a knock on Malenstein, you just gotta move someone out, sorry, and
Well, I
put
mean, you
Tucker
could
on the
fourth
4th
line.
line.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could fourth line him.
He
Like,
does
I don't
have
think that'd be the end of the world.
yeah, right? I mean, like, technically, maybe a little bit more skill might be able to get a little bit more power because I thought Josh Dunn was pretty good last night. There's multiple times
Revenge
below the
game
shot.
last night for
Yeah, I mean,
Josh
he was
Dunn.
kind of like, he was holding people he was shielding the puck very well on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
I was like, "This guy is actually" I said it to my buddy, I was like, "This guy's bullying people below the dot." And look, he's kinda
No,
like a
yeah, that
willing
was
combatant, and
crazy.
he doesn't get caved in when he's on the ice. So and I think who might have mentioned this? I've been trying to listen to everything I can just because I missed those 2 games over the weekend, but it might have been, like, Fairburn, and I 100% agree. Why is Geertsen on the team then? Like, Josh Dunn is exactly what you want anyway. And teams
Yeah.
are essentially saying, like, "If you touch Geertsen and go to the box, like, you're hurting us. We want him on the ice because he is not not very good." So, yeah, I mean, like,
Yeah.
something
And
like
no
a
teams I was gonna say,
sorry.
no team's doing like a one-for-one trade-off with Geertsen either when he starts something. Like, if it's with a guy that's relatively good, like, they're not gonna do a one-for-one trade-off going to the box. Buffalo sends Geertsen in the
Bad
box,
math.
they send someone probably better than Geertsen in the box.
Yeah. So, like, if Zucker were to, like, quote, unquote, "get, like, demoted," I don't think it would be out of the lineup by any means. I think it would just be to maybe, like, the 4th line and maybe Greenway steps into his place or whatever. So, they've been pretty I kind of thought Greenway might not be back until maybe, like, next week at the earliest, just because it seems like they were really trying to slow roll this and, make sure it doesn't happen again because it's Greenway comes back for 10 games, looks pretty good, and then gets hurt, and it sucks. And I thought he played really well last year before he had the injury issues. So there's a possible solution there. Let's keep it rolling to someone that unfortunately has an injury bug history, but is actually playing very well. And we got to give him his props for what he did over the weekend. 2 goals for Matthias Samuelsson, my favorite defenseman on the team. Everyone knows this. And so what I will say, like, he actually is playing very much better. Looks like a little bit more confident. They even threw him up with Darlene. Didn't look out of place. Playing with a little bit more of an edge. Again, he's going to have issues. I saw one on the opening night that really bothered me with him and Malenstein in the corner. It happens to everyone. Darlene's making mistakes out there too. But Matthias Samuelsson has had a pretty good start to the season, and he's staying healthy. What do you make of Samuelsson? And do you foresee this sticking around, or do you think maybe it tails off, or maybe what do you think has changed a little bit? Is it the addition of Timmins and now Kesselring? I just wanted to get your opinion on Samuelsson because, look, try to give praise where praise is due. I thought he's played pretty well so far in the season. Again, he's kind of set the bar very low, but he's cleared it, and you know what? We'll give him that.
Yeah, I'm not crazy for saying that I think he's been the Sabres' best defenseman so far because I honestly think he has been so far this season. So
Timmins, I see. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I think Timmins. I think just that pairing's been the best. I guess is the best if you want to
yeah,
say Samuelson's been the best. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah.
I mean, I think even just getting those goals too. I just think he's had a great start to the year. I think easily the best start of the year out of any Sabres defenseman, especially with Darlene and Power not looking great. So I think it's huge that he stepped up because, looking at this roster in the offseason, it's kind of like, oh, yeah, if Darlene and Power start off slow, we're kind of screwed with who we have on defense. Like, not a lot of names that step in there, but he's stepped in and has been solid. And I think he's been like the Samuelson we need to see. Uh, so, yeah, like props to him for the start this season he's
Mhm.
having. I think it's really just the power of those depth guys so far that have been keeping the season afloat because we really haven't seen like the level of hockey we're used to seeing for a lot of the big names on this roster.
I also like to see him getting into scrums. Like, dude, that's your job.
Yeah,
That's your job. You're a third pairing defenseman, and you're a big body. Like, you were highly touted as a long reach, physical, mature defenseman. Well, mature defenseman of that stature, he mixes it up, and he's doing it this year. Look, he's not doing anything crazy. He's not dropping the gloves or whatever, but he's being more deliberate and not as standoffish as we've we saw multiple occasions
yeah.
last
I
season.
mean,
And maybe it was like a self-preservation thing. He just didn't want to get injured, but sorry, like, you got to get in there, bro. Like, this is pack mentality. You can't get punked anymore.
I'd
Kind of
I'd
thing.
have to imagine he saw that Tage clip too. Like I know there's definitely
Yeah.
like he definitely probably didn't see some of it, but I mean watching that after he had to have been like, oh man, this looks terrible. Like
Yeah.
our best player got, cheap shotted and I'm just standing there like,
Yeah.
with my arm around another guy's waist on like the other team, like
And
just
then
watching a scrum.
got in that same like situation, was getting slashed and did nothing about it.
Yeah.
Like, this dude's slashing you on the foot and you're just like, ow. Like,
Yeah. So
come on, man.
that had to have been an awakening because I mean, I imagine
I
Tage probably said something to him too, because it's kind of
I don't
like,
even I don't I don't necessarily think Tage would
Like,
go up
he
to him
did
and
say
say
something
something.
on a podcast, though. He said
Exactly.
something
It
on a
would be like,
podcast in the off season where he's like, yeah, I
yeah.
thought it was kind of weird. Like, no one stepped in. I mean, they said they didn't see it, but Tage
Um,
is someone who always has his teammates back.
so my thing on that is Lindy fought a goalie when he played. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
Lindy said something.
Yeah, he definitely had to said something too.
So yeah, that I mean, I don't see a PO'd Lindy Ruff. That's one of them for sure. I mean, look what happened when they went after Drury.
Yeah.
Run 'em, boys. Yeah, I
Sent out the
mean,
enforcer line.
exactly. So look,
And
props
Lindy
to him.
loves an enforcer too. Like, I was
He
just
sure
thinking,
does.
like, with the Geertsen thing now, I'm
Yeah.
like, just thinking of back to when I was a Sabres fan as a kid. I mean, I started
Mhm.
with like Rob Ray,
That's right.
then Eric Bolden, and then
Mhm.
Andrew Peters, and then Coletta. It's like they always have at least one guy that could
Mhm.
that's just there to, throw out hits and drop the gloves.
That's right. That's right. And like, look, in this NHL, like you have to have it. You should have one of those guys, but he has to be able to play because then you have a Geertsen
Yeah.
situation where it's like, I am not going with you. One, you might beat the brakes off of me. Two, my coach told me not to.
Yeah.
Like, it's no advantage to me taking you off the ice, but it's got to be some kind of advantage for you to take me off the ice because I'm freaking better than you. So, like,
Yeah, because that was the thing with old hockey. Like, every team had an enforcer. Like, Ottawa had like McGrodin,
yep.
Chris Neal. Like, there are
Mhm.
other guys that'd be willing to fight. Now it's like even a guy like Rempe, he's been I know he's hurt now, but when he's healthy, he's playing like 10 plus minutes a night and was like on a
He's
really
picking his
good
spots.
fourth line for the Rangers. So yeah, it's like Geertsen, like I just feel like maybe that era of the game's gotten phased out. And I do think some of his playing time's been influenced by injury a little bit because obviously like Danforth out for a long time, Greenway's been out. So
Mhm.
yeah, I do imagine moving forward, especially after the game that Josh Dunn had, they're going to be like, all right, yeah, we kind of have, and they kind of have like a legitimately good fourth line. I mean, especially when Kozak comes back, like if you have like
Mhm.
Krebs, Dunn, Kozak on a line, like that's not a bad fourth line at all. Like that's something you can work with. That's
Mhm.
something where we were kind of used to it a little bit with the log line back in the day with Larson, Oposo, Gergensons, where it's like a fourth line you could throw out there and they'll just dominate possession. But that's not something we've had the past,
Right.
several seasons in Buffalo. We've been having a fourth line that gets like obliterated in their 10 minutes a night out there.
Not even. I mean, like Geertsen was playing like less than like 5 minutes and stuff like that, and you're sitting there like, then what are we doing? So yeah, that's yeah. He's kind of like the team punching bag. So I don't really want to you know pile on there. So let's move on to something more positive. Michael Kesselring, shall we? First game back. Seeing it live, thought he played okay. You could kind of see some good plays and some things that you hope to see him build on, and then some other stuff where you're like, yeah, it's definitely his first game a little bit and a little either hesitant or not as sharp. But overall, I thought played pretty well. Even setting up as high as I did, he looks like a big boy. I don't know what it looked like on the broadcast, but whoa, boy! So they have quite the large defense that they have there on the Sabres. Any thoughts on Kesselring before we start maybe moving on to? God, probably have to talk about goalies at some point here, right?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was flying out there. Uh, I thought he looked pretty good, and I think he's similar to Doan too, where he can be like a dog type player on the
Speaking of,
defense.
that's
Yeah,
right.
like toss that count. Oh yeah, like seems like adding a dog has inspired some of the guys. Like I think that's definitely true. I think guys like Doan, guys like Kesslering, I think just having them in the lineup and seeing the way they play, I think it's really going to inspire this team to just be playing like just harder, faster hockey, winning puck battles. And I
Mhm,
think we saw that last night against Columbus too, with how they battled back after that terrible start.
mhm.
Like they were taking it to Columbus that
Yep.
most of that second period. Like it kind of looked like I was watching like the teams I was watching kind of flipped because I'm like now Columbus' second period is looking like Buffalo did in the first period where
Yeah.
it seemed like they kept turning over the puck, couldn't get anything going in the offensive zone. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's really just that mindset because everyone's talented in the NHL. I really think mindset, you know, I think
It's
It's just
mindset
an
and confidence.
intangible. Yeah,
Like,
mindset and confidence.
mindset might be part of that, but just confidence too. Because like it
Yeah.
kind of going back to Samuelson, it looks like he's a little bit more confident out there too. I don't know if he feels like fully healthy and stuff like that, but playing well and you know, I guess if you don't mind me using that as a segue, it seems like the confidence of a couple players isn't like shattered by any means, but isn't great either. Specifically talking about Rasmus Dahlin and Owen Power. Dahlin, the one thing I will say is we do need to remember there is something personal going on in his life. I understand it's not an excuse. He's making a bunch of money, team captain. I get it. It's a little bit different, man. Like that was a really scary situation he went through, and like I still think about that a lot. So I'm giving Darlene a lot more leeway. Plus, he's endured a lot of crap here. I think we can, kind of stick through. Like I understand earlier in this episode, I said, they don't really have a lot of runway to stick with it for whomever. But if you're going to stick with it with someone, it's going to be guys like Darlene, Power, or Thompson, who might not have had the hottest start. But what's your maybe take on those three guys? And I did want to add that caveat to Darlene just because it's just something for people to keep in mind that was a really scary situation they went through.
Tage is just like, we've seen some flashes from him. Uh, I don't know. Like we were talking about a center thing. Like long term doesn't make sense for like Kulik to be that center on his line. Like it's just like I just feel so forced to me. And I don't really know if that's the
Yeah,
problem there where it's like maybe that's why things aren't going, but it's still been a decent line a lot of nights. But yeah, I think like this comment right here, like there's one player who deserves to be carried for a bit, it's Darlene. So just going over to Darlene, yeah, like you mentioned, like he's someone where just based on the sample size of the past few seasons, we know he's gonna be able to bounce back and be an effective player. It's
exactly.
just not working for him right now. And things not working for him and Tage to walk away at 10 points is perfect. And then Power too. I like that's another guy who just hasn't looked like himself. I think
Mhm.
he took far too much heat for that goal against last night. That
Yep,
was a
I agree.
three-man unit misreading a play, and that was almost an impossible spot for Power to get to because he had to keep his mind on two different guys at that point because he wasn't sure if Tuck would be able to get to the puck carrier, and we realized Tuck wasn't be able to get there.
Yeah,
He kind of missed a step and left the guy open. So I just think
yeah,
the amount of heat he takes, and then you have like these like there's even like some Bills reporters coming and be like, "Oh yeah, Power has actually stunk his whole career." I'm like, "All right, we could
okay.
calm down a little bit on that." I just
Yeah, he's
think,
not the perfect player, but
yeah,
relax. Yeah,
same with UPL too. I just feel like people are out for blood on both these guys. Whereas there's like a small mistake they make, like they're coming for their lives on
yeah,
social media and everything, and it's like at the end of the day, these guys are both savers. Like
yeah.
it's like just because like they may have an off game, I just don't think we should be trashing these guys' entire careers and forgetting about the moments where they were good. And so yeah, I think Power. I think he is what he is at this point. Like I think with the type of player he is, there's always going to be a huge. I mean, not a huge portion, but
Yeah.
a somewhat sizable portion of the fan base that never really respects what he brings to the table. Yeah, I mean, he hasn't brought that to the table this season. But we've seen what he could do in the past with just generating offense from the back end with those secondary passes. Like, I don't think 22-23 happens unless the Sabres add a power type defenseman to that team. So hopefully he's able to refine his game this season because he hasn't been great so far. And I wouldn't consider myself the biggest power fan. I'd still consider myself a power fan relative to like some of the people that comment on his game. But
Yeah.
yeah, even I'd admit that he's been pretty bad this season, and he may not have like the large sample size of being elite like Darlene has, but he is a guy who the Sabres also need to bounce back this season if they want to put together a playoff push.
I'm in the exact same boat as you with Power. It's like I'm not his biggest fan, but I'm still a fan of him for sure. And again, like I said, he's not the perfect player. I know he has flaws, but yeah, he gets buried a lot. He gets buried a lot, which
Yeah,
is crazy. I'm even less of a UPL fan. I'm not saying I'm a UPL hater. I think I'm pretty like right in the middle. I've been a little bit more critical of him recently, but we also have to remember like he played behind such a horribly defensive team
Yeah.
Where especially when number 77 was out there, he wasn't even trying on defense, so you're already playing a man down. So, like,
Yeah.
we have to remember that too. So, look, it's yeah, I also think it's just a little early in the season to really jump on people's backs, says the guy that freaked out at the first game. Look, I really wanted to man, it was just so indicative of, you know, that just coming out flat. And like, I don't really want to bring this up, but even yesterday, and it was something really small, and I don't want to be this guy, but like, even the Sabres coming out onto the ice, it looked like they were unprepared. There were like 3 guys that came out on the ice, and then 5 seconds later, like 5 more guys came out, and then like a solid like 30 seconds later, like the rest of them start coming out. And I'm like, what's going on here? Why is like I know it's really small, but you guys didn't even come out as like a group. That has nothing to do with like the actual result, but it just didn't fit. And then they put up the stinker of the first period they did. And it just the whole thing just didn't feel like they were ready. Sorry for like the weird side tangent, but that is something I
Yeah.
noticed. I mentioned to my buddy because I was like, that was kind of weird, right? I don't know if they do that all the time. It's not something we see on the broadcast. I'm not at every game. And so someone please correct me if that's something that's pretty common, but I don't know. Following or like doing that and then having like a stinker of a first period where it looks like you're not even ready to play yet. It was just like, ugh. I don't
It's
know if
because they
that's
got to
coaching
bring back
staff.
the saber dance. Do they even play that at the arena anymore? I feel like they don't. And
I
people
think so
keep telling
now.
me they do, but I feel like it's like the Mandela effect where people think they still play it, but I'm pretty sure they like don't play saber dance anymore.
I
Like,
don't think so. Now I'm trying to think back and what I heard last night, and I don't think so. Again, I don't go to a ton of games live. I go to like a solid handful each year, so something to look forward to. I did I didn't do it last night, but I did take a picture of the signage around there. And, I was gonna tag you on it and say you're punching air right now, but yeah,
yeah, no. Every
maybe
time I
Bill.
see those signs, I'm like, oh man, I can't do this anymore. And I actually had like I had a tweet that went viral that had like a bunch of likes of the Sabres new word mark. It's like throw that up on the signs. Like we have such cool like royal blue and gold designs. Like throw some of
Even
our new stuff up there.
make them Bandits colors. I don't care. Just,
Yeah, or
not royal
bandits
blue.
colors even.
Okay, so we have like, if you're listening to this as, normal podcast, we were doing this one live and we have some people commenting in. Shout out to KB. He's been active in here. Not the only one, but we appreciate this comment where, yeah, zone exits and transition up ice and offense to create offense essentially, get no appreciation, you know, wouldn't want to see the decor without Owen Power. This is who he's referring to. And yeah, I mean, it's just, no, which is something that bothered me last night was they couldn't break the puck out cleanly. Like Darlene was struggling with it. Byron was firing pucks all over the place. Saw Kesselring miss 1 or 2. I think all the defensemen struggled with it. And look, you're not going to bat 1,000 when you're making breakout passes, but that is something that, especially with someone like Darlene, that I would appreciate a lot because a nice, crisp, flat, on the tape breakout pass can really spring some solid offense, and you don't realize it until you see all these pucks going for icing or bouncing off people's feet, and then it gets turned over or something like that. So that is something that is part of Power's game. Like to see him really take a hold of that and make it such a glowing. I don't want to say like a glaring issue. The opposite, a glowing, positive of his game, because especially what I saw last night, they could have had even more offense if they weren't struggling at times to either regroup or break the puck out. So wanted to add that in here as well. Is there anything else when it comes to like the play style of the Sabres that you've either liked or disliked? Seems like a lot of teams are getting a lot of good quality chances in that house area of the ice. And that's something that I wanted to bring up to you, just kind of like the philosophy of, every team and all good players are trying to get to the center of the ice. Seems like against the Sabres, teams are getting to the center of the ice, and feels like a lot of the times Alex Lyon, for the most part, is doing a good job of stopping those shots. But do you think that can come back to haunt them? I don't know if this is something we can pull up quickly about stats on that or something like that. But it seems like they're giving up a lot of more high danger chances than you'd like, or at least I'd like.
Yeah, I think that's definitely been like an issue so far is, really just that center of the ice they haven't really been defending too well. Like, I guess on the plus side is that they're not really giving up like a crazy amount of like overall danger, but yeah, the danger is coming from that center of the ice. So I actually have the graphic right down here if you wanted to pull it up on the screen. I forget how
Oh,
to
okay.
do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I got you. Here we go.
So yeah, I mean you can't see it. It's just like it's not like a crazy amount of like overall like danger against because expected goals against per 60 is at 2.59, which isn't anything crazy. But I mean, for those of us not watching us on video, it's pretty much like a heat map, and then straight down the center of the ice, there's like a giant red line, and it gets a little bit darker red right in front of the net. So it's like that's kind of the area they may want to try to protect a little bit more.
Yep.
So and I think we saw it in that Columbus game too. They gave up a pretty like good amount of danger to Columbus that game. And, I mean, Sabres were getting a bunch of net shot fronts or a net front shots. I'm losing my wording there. They got a bunch of net front shots themselves, so they kind of traded it off that game. But yeah, it's like big picture. You want to be a playoff team, maybe this is an area you try to look to clean up.
So on 5-on-5, I'm looking here on Natural Stat Trick. They are pretty much right in the middle of the pack. They're at 48.65% for high danger Corsi 4. So that is all shot attempts. So yeah, they're just a little bit less than half on that. So it's not that bad. And guess who's right above them? The Utah Mammoth. So we'll be seeing them Tuesday. And maybe we'll be seeing a lot of high danger chances. So it's just something I've noticed. At least last night, there were a couple times where I'm like, "Woof, that's I don't like him getting to that area of the ice." But look, at the same time, like that's going to happen in a hockey game, and that's why your goalie gets paid handsomely as well, is to make those stops. So yeah, that's another thing to just keep an eye out. At least for myself, is one just kind of the breakout passes and the regroups and how quickly they move on the transition, because this team is a good transition team. We've seen it in years past, and it seems like a little bit recently they've gotten back to it a little bit more. So hopefully they can keep that up, especially against a team that isn't as skilled and is struggling a little bit, like Boston. Really like to see them push the pace on the transition, tomorrow night, because we're live. But if you're listening to this on Thursday morning, tonight against the Bruins.
You get to see some old friends too. Middlestat, Yoki Haru,
That's right. See him
Nika
again.
Zadorov going a little bit further back.
No, brother. Zadorov just laughing at Geertsen. I'm not trying to bring him up again. It's just what happened last game.
Nikita Zadorov's been good this year too for Boston. He's been a nice depth piece addition for them.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I didn't really remember that one time where he just like hit Eichel like super high. And then like a
Oh
year
yeah,
later, you like bragged about it on social media or something like that. And you're just like, this is a weird brag, dude. But that being said, I've always kind of like been sad that the Sabres got rid of him. Look, I'm not saying he would have stayed here the entire time, but he's kind of like one of those defensemen I wish they had, or like a Braden McNabb.
I know.
Mostly because
I'm
he's from the
just
Sabres.
thinking about like that defense the Sabres had at that time. If they developed, Ristolainen a little bit more properly, and like maybe Zadorov too, and then you had McNabb in the organization at the same time. Like they could have built a pretty bruising defense behind some star forwards in Eichel and Reinhardt. Like it's always like a what if with the Sabres team. And I was looking at, I know it brought up, someone was posting like old like hockey's future prospect rankings with the Sabres. And I was looking back at like some of their older rankings. Like, usually we hear a lot of negative stuff about like, oh yeah, all these prospects never turned into anything. Like the amount of prospects the Sabres had those years that turned into guys that are going on to play almost 1,000 NHL games
Yeah.
is pretty remarkable. Like they had like an incredible prospect pool, and they had the top end talent too. Like they literally had all the pieces. They just weren't able to tie it together. But I mean, I'm looking at guys like Jake McCabe. I
Yep.
mean, he's had a very long NHL career. Like a
Joel
little bit
Army.
further back, yeah, Joel Armia. He's playing top 6 minutes on the LA Kings right now. Like it's like they've had a ton of these guys that have gone on to have really long NHL careers, and I think that's more of a testament to how skilled or good a player is than anything else.
Man, I don't want to go back through the archives and do the what
Yeah.
ifs. It just hurts. It just hurts at this point. But yeah, I think there's also something to be said for the players that they've drafted recently as well. Oh yeah, good call removing that. Um, just kind of seeing where the guys I've drafted recently end up as well. I'm thinking kind of like the Gavin McCarthy, Sturbach. I'm not thinking of like the higher end guys because they're probably going to be playing in the NHL and stuff like that. But
I'm excited for Brody Zimmer. He's someone where
yeah,
I think
Zimmer.
after this World Juniors, I think he's going to be a guy where it's like I feel like a lot more Sabres fans and hockey fans in general will get to know a little bit more about his game. Like he did win a gold medal with the U.S. team last year, but he'll take on a larger role this season.
Yeah.
So he's someone I'm excited about. Luke Osborne hasn't put up a crazy amount of point totals in Wisconsin, but he's one of the most fun defensemen to watch. So, maybe when he gets, maybe eventually he's able to turn that into something at the pro level down the road. But yeah, I mean, they have some interesting prospects in their pool right now, at least in terms of depth guys. But I think it's a far cry from just the embarrassment of riches they kind of had like around like 2012, 2013, 2014, where it's like, man, you could have like 5-6 guys in this pool right now that hit 1,000 NHL games.
Sure could. And then it just got better and better. And then, a bunch of guys got shipped out on draft night of 2015. And, oh, brother, there it all went. There was the old ball game trying to really put that one into hyperdrive and ended up crashing straight into a tree. So I think I'm sure there's
fired before you could crash it.
That's right. Yeah. Oh my God. Just let someone else here take over the wheel. Take over the wheel. I'm going to swap out and you crash us into a tree now. I'm trying to think of anything else that we can really go over. Pushing an hour at this point. I know that can get kind of tedious for people, but at the same time, if you made it this far, surely appreciate it. Just kind of, randomly, we just feel like, hey, we want to rip this one live. And so we did. So we appreciate all the people that hopped in the chat. I know the World Series is going on as well. Be honest, I didn't know it was happening tonight. I didn't realize they were going to play 3 games in a row in the World Series, but here you are. Hopefully this game doesn't go until 3 a.m. Is there anything else? Anything else? I'm just looking through the roster of people we can maybe talk about or anything else. I think that's about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably everything. I feel like we had a good amount of Sabres material to talk about this episode. I feel like there are a lot of interesting topics. And yeah, this comment here, like, thank goodness no goalie talk.
I can't take it.
Episode.
Yeah, I did mention we were going to talk about it, but it's just.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of overdone at this point.
Oh yeah, it's that rag has been wrung dry for sure. Yeah, I mean, just roll with your 3, and we'll see what happens. So there you go. There's your goalie talk. At this point, I think it's time to start talking about some European football. Champions League.
Rough loss for Wolves today too.
We're not going to talk about it. The sooner they get relegated, the sooner I can jump ship to Fulham, like I promised my buddy I would. So, yeah, Brentford, don't join us in the relegation battle is all I'm trying to say.
We got a big win over Liverpool on Saturday, so we could be safe.
Okay. All right. Also, we have to look at, I know we talked about this before. I still kind of thinking about turning into some kind of video of maybe getting to Penn State or something like that, getting to one of those games or
Penn State outdoors game end of January, I think.
Oh crap.
Maybe
okay.
on the radar.
Maybe something like that. Wolves are going to wander into the Champions League. That is not true. They're going to wander themselves out of the league. Something like that, or maybe even I was bummed that I wasn't able to make the Niagara US NTP and
NTDP National Team Development Program.
National Team Development Program. I always mess that up. I'm showing my age a little bit. But.
Yeah, no, that was a cool event, and it I think Just Dishing they did like the skate skin stuff with like the collab with the Children's Hospital, I believe it was. So yeah, yes. that was cool to see.
And, that was awesome.
Definitely, I feel like there's so many hockey events in Western New York where some of them I don't even know are going on, but it's we have a lot of good pre-NHL draft hockey coming right through our own backyard in Western New York, whether it's the National Team Development Program stopping by for a game or two, or even at even at the Northtown Center too. They have like all the U.S. like U16, U17 camps there. A ton
Yep.
of NHL guys or future NHL guys going through there. So a lot of really cool hockey right in our own backyard in Western New York.
I got Canisius, Buff State, run up to Niagara. Does St. Catharines have a?
Got the Ice Dogs. Ice Dogs in St. Catharines.
That's right.
Not a
There you
far
go.
drive. That's always a fun game to go to. I'm back for like around Christmas. I'm definitely gonna try to make my way up to St. Catharines to get to another Ice Dogs games because they have some interesting draft prospects on their team this season. So that'll be fun to watch.
Well, as people watching this as my witness, I've just invited myself to that. So congratulations, Walt. I
Yeah.
guess we're going to a game now.
No,
That
yeah,
does sound like a lot
you
of fun.
got to come because I
Well,
have a hard time convincing people when it's like dark out at 4 p.m. and it's
yeah,
like 20
yeah.
degrees outside. Hey, you want to drive to St. Catharines to watch a junior hockey game?
Oh man, yeah. It's that's a tough sell sometimes. Tough sell.
Yeah.
I have to go over the border for that, but I'm down. So something to look forward to. Appreciate everyone tuning in to the 93rd episode of the Sabremetrix podcast. Walt, final word, and I will not say anything after your final word. So you legitimately have the final word this time. So, and strong.
My final word is beat the Bruins.